is, and it's true. BuySellMakeOffer.com is the new exciting way to sell your stuff online. Make extra money right now. Sell your old car, furniture, video games, household items, clothes, even your home. Sell anything that's legal. Load up your stuff to sell right now at BuySellMakeOffer.com. This is your official invitation to get on board to sell your stuff right now. Free for the next 60 days. And once you see how easy it is, you'll want to sign up for more because there are no item fees. That's right. Take this opportunity to move items from the other guys and sell it for free. You might even win a Samsung tablet, Amazon gift cards, and other cool prizes. BuySellMakeOffer.com is the future of online selling. You can use Skype to talk to your buyer or seller. Plus, you can use video to showcase your items. BuySellMakeOffer.com.
Freeway Auto Center is your road to home. Now open and ready to send you home in a much better car than you're driving now. Freeway Auto Center has a special phone number for KCAA listeners. Get ready, get a pen. Here's the number you need. Right now, in the 909 area code, call 269-8731. Got it? 269-8731. That's the number you need for Freeway Auto Center. Just call 909-269-8731 and ask for the road to home. You may need to unload a car that costs more to fix than you paid for it. Maybe you need a dependable car for your kids to go to college. Maybe it's just time. Freeway Auto Center on Waterman, north of the 10, has the selection you're looking for. Freeway Auto Center will get you there. Call 909-269-8731. That's 269-8731. That's your number for Freeway Auto Center.
Are you working harder than ever at your job, but find yourself getting nowhere? Do you hate spending hundreds of dollars every week on daycare, having someone else raise your children? With our free information, you can lead a happier life, work from home, and start earning money as soon as next week.
I was a traditional business owner, and our business was affected greatly by the economy, so we were looking for another income stream. It allowed me to actually walk away from a 16-year career and part owner in a traditional business just after 8 months.
Go to freedom105.com. Get out of the rat race, work from home, and start earning great money as soon as next week.
I'm a single mom. Before this business, I was over $90,000 in credit card debt alone. And now we go to Disneyland, Disney World. We've been on vacations to Hawaii. I never could have done that before this business.
Go to freedom105.com right now and change your life today. That's freedom105.com. freedom105.com. And start earning great money as soon as next week.
Are you looking for the right place to purchase your landscaping items? Well, come see us at Hydroscape. Hydroscape offers a large selection of irrigation products including Irritrol and Toro, such as their efficient precision nozzles. For 40 years, Hydroscape has been family-owned and operated, serving Southern California. With 17 locations, our knowledgeable and experienced staff is equipped to help you with all your irrigation, landscape, and outdoor living projects. Whether you're installing irrigation systems, wanting to maintain a healthy landscape, or simply create a beautiful lit space for outdoor entertaining, Hydroscape is the place to go. Visit our website at hydroscape.com for more information and find helpful articles on our blog. Or call our customer service center at 1-800-395-4477.
One name you should know, the best place you can go, Toyota of Escondido.
It's summer savings time at Toyota of Escondido. For the first time ever, you can drive home any bold new 2015 Camry or gas-saving Prius Hybrid with 0 APR factory financing for 60 months. Don't miss out.
Toyota of Escondido. Toyota of Escondido.
Come in today and save more than ever before on over 12.5 acres of new and pre-owned Toyotas. 0 APR factory financing on approved good credit. 60 monthly payments of $1,667 per $1,000 borrowed. Down payment varies with credit.
Toyota of Escondido.
Financing includes dealer fees and excludes tax and license. Ends July 6th.
Is your radio station dull and boring like most corporate-owned stations on the dial? Then it's time to tune to KCAA 1050 AM. It will blow your mind and maybe expand it too. KCAA is your independently owned go-to station in the Inland Empire. It's a veritable cornucopia of crazy, an assemblage of awesome and cool, and it's a little weird too. KCAA pumps out more local and national radio each week than most major networks while offering CNBC business news headlines during the week and NBC sports news on weekends. KCAA is unique, interesting, quirky, and sometimes outlandishly crazy, which adds up to a high volume of awesome. And for you audiophiles, KCAA delivers FM sound quality to our transmitter, which is why KCAA is the best-sounding AM station on the dial. So make your day with KCAA and find us online at kcaaradio.com. KCAA, the station that leaves no listener behind.
Southern California's Inland Talk Express is KCAA News Talk 1050.
Hey! What the? Honey! The water just stopped in here.
They turned it off because you're wasting water.
What? What are you talking about?
You know.
Because you know it's all about that drought, no water. It's all about that drought, no water. It's all about that drought, no water. It's all about that drought, drought. Yeah, it's pretty clear, we're really short on blue. It's time to save it, like we're supposed to do. Some say it's doom, gloom, and all our grass must go. But together we can make it and enjoy our golden state. It's all about that drought, no water. It's all about that drought, no water. It's all about that drought, no water. It's all about that drought, drought.
I'm your host, Rob Starr, along with our other host, wait for it, Mike, the unbashful but brilliant and benevolent brainiac whose presentations of irrigation technologies are blazing and bold and also beyond compare, Mr. Mike Barron.
Well, thank you, Rob. Once again, you have done an outstanding job of introducing me. I don't know if the folks heard that entire scenario of words, but I do appreciate that positive introduction.
For $1, I'll do it again. I think I have a bad mic.
So, hey, it sounded so good, I want you to borrow my mic. Here you go.
Well, it's time to do the news, so we'll just skip that and do the water news of the week and talk about the competition you and I are having in our cities, how well we saved. Now, do you know how much Glendora saved?
You know, I think it was something like 36%?
38%.
38, all right.
And Anaheim saved 32%. Our reduction requirement was 20%.
So we've got more cities positively reducing their water usage, and that's a great thing because I think everybody realizes we're in a drought. We all realize that this is an emergency situation, that even though we all hear that El Nino is coming, but we don't know whether there's going to be that amazing snowpack that we need so desperately. So we've got to continue to save. Californians are continuing to save, and we appreciate that. I'm sure our guests this evening will appreciate the fact that our efforts are actually resulting in some pretty significant savings. The last 2 months in a row, I think over, last 3 months, probably close to 30% and definitely over the 25% mandated reduction by the state of California. By the way, I was at a landscape expo today in Long Beach and was asked to do a presentation on turf. Is it really a four-letter word? And, you know, we've heard a lot about turf removal programs, and we've got two guests this evening that are experts in all things turf. So I encourage folks to tune in and call in to...
If you like turf and you want instant gratification, we have the right people for you. That's
right. That's if you're in the San Bernardino area, call us on 909-888-5222. And if you're outside that area, give us a call at 888-909-1050.
Yeah, we want to hear your questions because I think these people and we have another lady here also that will give you loads of information and a wealth of knowledge to keep you going and making everything that you need happen correctly.
So, with that, I want to introduce our guest this evening, Melinda Weinrich.
A little history?
A little history. Her fame goes before her.
Absolutely.
Her water conservation efforts are renowned in Riverside County. So, but yes, tell us.
Well, Melinda's worked in the water industry for nearly 15 years. She began a career working in the consulting field, managing projects throughout California. Has spent the last 10 years working for both private and public water utilities. And Melinda currently works for the City of Corona, Department of Water and Power. She's currently the president of the Water Saving Garden Friendly Group that was created to provide local communities with conservation-based educational opportunities, as well as information and access to climate-appropriate plants. Ms. Weinrich has a bachelor's degree in zoology from Humboldt State and completed her graduate studies at Boston University in energy and environmental studies. Welcome to the show, Melinda.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Thank you. And I hear that there's no truth to the rumors that Humboldt State is a party school. Is that right?
You know, it's kind of funny. When I went up there, I had 7 a.m. calculus class, so you really can't party, and go down to Santa Cruz and those places, and I was like, my goodness, these people are wild. In Humboldt, we actually really care. We studied. We were science dorks.
That's cool. That is very cool. And since you mentioned Santa Cruz, I got to say that Santa Cruz seems to be a leading water agency in terms of gallons per capita per day, around 44 gallons per day per person, which is pretty amazing. So they're helping our average in the state of California go down.
Well, we're curious to know, what's the City of Corona doing about the drought?
Well, I think when we heard about the drought and it started to impact us and looking at what the mandate is for our savings, we got really aggressive all the way up through management, been very supportive about making some drastic changes, just not for the drought today, but long term. Some of the things that we really focus on, obviously, is turf removal. And our city looked at removing turf at medians, in parkways, and some of our parks of non-use turf.
Yeah, and I guess I want to mention that those are areas that are very, very challenging to irrigate efficiently, because, you know, whether they're 2 foot, 4 foot, 5 foot, it's really tough, and then you've got water on the roadway. So those are the areas where I think it makes sense. And did the city replace the turf with plant material, drought tolerant plant material?
Yeah, in Corona we kind of have a philosophy to keep the landscape with plant material because it keeps the cooling factor, and it's also just kind of keeps the identity of Corona. We are a green city, and so you can still be green and be water efficient, and so a lot of our designs was really looking at incorporating that.
So I understand you have quite a bit of rebate programs, or tell us what you offer your customers and about some of the educational programs you do and some of the conservation events and activities that you do.
Sure. Well, this fall we're busy. I think we have some kind of class or event every weekend. We're doing some new classes. We have our staples, which is a Waterwise landscape design class. It's like an in-depth class. It's 2 days. They really learn about design, how to use the space, because a lot of customers, they want to redesign their landscape, be more efficient, and they have no idea what to do. They're like, it's so big. So this class really helps them figure out plants that really work for Corona and the soil, the climate. And then we have a new class we're going to be doing. It's kind of a pilot project program for drip irrigation. We're going to actually be having customers apply. They show us an area they want to convert to drip that is on shrubs, and they come in, they take a class. It's hands-on. They really learn how to build it, and they'll find how easy it is. And then they go out and install it, and they have a couple weeks to do it, and then we come back and we kind of have one of those like troubleshooting where they can ask the questions, because we know what happens is people go out there and you're like, what is this? I don't know what this is. I forgot. And so they can come back, and it helps us too as we want to communicate to our customers about drip. We'll know the questions that came up, and we'll be able to better help people.
You know, that just sounds to me like a very effective way to step into the process, giving customers a chance to come back and ask questions of experts or of knowledgeable individuals as they have experimented and actually implemented the previous teaching. So that multi-step approach sure sounds good. The other thing I found interesting is that so many agencies don't rebate drip installations. Maybe they rebate a turf removal project and require drip, but it sounds like this is actually drip specific. So was it difficult to get that kind of thing approved, given that there aren't many of those kinds of programs in existence?
Yeah, the battle is getting funding assistance. I mean, there isn't as much documented proof on how much drip saves. We know it's more efficient, but something like the Toro Precision Nozzles, we have a good history and study that we can show what the savings are. And so for drip, it just wasn't there. But I think that within our management, we realize that not everybody's you're not going to get rid of your landscape, so why don't we make it more efficient? And how easy it is to do. I mean, I did drip irrigation in my own yard. I mean, it's real simple to do, and just getting past that boundary for people, and then hopefully this will show the savings potential, that then this will maybe expand into larger programs.
So do you expect the City of Corona, or under your auspices, to create a report maybe to the funding agency, and therefore that becomes the basis for other agencies to say, hey, here's some proof of what can be saved if you do a program like this?
Yes, that's, I think in the water industry, everyone is out to help each other. We all have a common goal. The idea even came from the city of Santa Monica that did a kind of drip irrigation type of program. And so we took from them what worked, what didn't, and we're trying to modify it and just get that foundational knowledge of here's how much it can save so that we can make it something bigger.
What other rebates do you have to help the customers reduce water and actually save their water bill a little bit?
Well, for businesses, if you're on a reclaimed line, we really encourage people to convert to reclaimed water. Our rates are lower, obviously, on reclaim, and through the Metropolitan Water District, there's an on-site retrofit program, which is basically a rebate incentive. It's $975 per acre-foot savings based on a year of water usage. And we're finding that helps fund for a lot of businesses that want to convert to reclaim, but the cost of that transformation. And so we've really been focusing on that, encouraging it for our businesses, because a lot of times we don't think about our business sector. But just in general, we offer a lot of different rebates. Kind of common in the Inland Empire, because it's super hot, is pool cover rebates, because we know the evaporation, can be quite high, but everyone uses their pool and needs their pool. So we try to offer incentives that will really be valuable for our customers. Obviously, we give rebates for weather-based irrigation controllers or smart controllers. Right now, our rebate's up to $200, and that generally covers the cost of most controllers. And then we have water resource technicians that will even come out and help show them how to install it and make sure it's programmed correctly.
Because that's for commercial or both?
That's for commercial and residential.
Wow,
we mostly do it for residential, we find, but if someone needs help in our community, that's kind of what we're there for.
So you must have a department of 1,000 people to get all this done?
No, that would be nice. We do have a great team, and we were very fortunate when word came out the push to do the drought. It was decided we pulled actually staff from other departments because we had such a demand and interest from our customers regarding needing assistance like water audits or just technical expertise. And so we pulled 4 different staff from parks to water operations, facility maintenance, and those resources were a tremendous help and really helped us get over and deal with the demand that our customers wanted.
So it sounds like you do the drip training, smart controller training. We'll go out to residential or commercial sites to do an audit to recommend what should be looked at to improve irrigation efficiency. Are there any other educational outreach efforts that the city, not that I would expect you to have more, but I know that you're pretty prolific in terms of offering opportunities to your customers, so I'm just wondering if there's any other program that you'd like to share, with our audience.
Yeah, sure. Well, we have our classes, but if there's a public event, generally in Corona, DWP is out there trying to let people know about what's going on and how we can help them and help them conserve. We also reach out to our homeowners associations. We have quite a bit, and we've been working with them, everything from going to their meetings, talking to their customers or their residents, and helping even with designs. One of the big things is it was this transformation of what yards are going to look like if people want to take out parkway grass. We worked with several homeowners associations, put together what would work, the right pallets, the irrigation, so that they could be successful. And that's and we've really seen a transformation in regards to their response to the drought and wanting to help and the whole community coming together.
I know one of them. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
One of the largest project you did was retrofitting a bunch of nozzles all throughout a section of Corona. Can you tell us a little about that and who was involved and as far as the workforce that you had and so forth?
This really fantastically smart guy, Mike. I don't know.
I think there was a group called the CCC, I think, or
yeah. Corona was very.
Was that unbashful but brilliant and benevolent Brainiac? Sorry,
no, it was the other Mike.
Okay. That's right.
So we were very fortunate. One of the things that came out as part of the governor's drought and funding was to provide funding to the California Conservation Corps to do water efficiency specific or water saving projects, and we filled out that application quickly because we saw the benefit. And so they came in, they helped us at several of not just our city sites but several of our school sites, and it was a great opportunity. We had in our school district some that had gone through the CCC program as well, so it was really neat. They knew the kids' experience, and they with immense training from Toro, from Mike specifically. He was out there with us. I mean, just tremendous help. We hit big swaths of all of our kind of parkway areas, installing Toro precision nozzles and MP rotors.
Yep.
So it was, and it's made a big difference. I have to say, I don't see as many of those accounts really in our higher tiers for water billing.
Great.
And our schools are really appreciative, and it helped them because it was something, just staff. I mean, every school, that's not their first priority, and they've got a lot of things to do. So that was.
I got to tell you, it was rewarding to be able to train these CCC, the California Conservation Corps individuals. They were men, they were women. Some of them got pretty excited and said, this might be a career I might pursue in the irrigation business. Others not so excited, but it was very interesting, and they knew they were doing something of value for the city, so that worked out, I thought, very well. So
it was a great project.
We did present at one of the meetings at Metropolitan Water District, after we finish and use all the resources. It was so rewarding. We're hoping to get them back. There's so much more they can do, and there's a lot of nozzles to change out in this world.
Yes, there are.
So what do you think about the current water infrastructure in California? Is there anything that you would suggest that you would change if you had the little magic wand to make?
No, you have a hotline to Governor Brown, and
you got to go higher.
This is how we
got to go higher than Brown.
His wife.
Yeah.
Yes, go to his wife.
I was born under Brown, and now I got Brown again.
That's right. The first one, really interesting.
And he was actually the creator of not the creator, but established the CCC. So, that's a difficult one. Everyone's fighting over that, and I've been fortunate to live in Northern California, Humboldt, Sacramento, Southern California, and worked even in the coastal areas, and everyone has a different problem. So I think that the big solution is obviously dealing with the Bay Delta. The Water Fix-It plan, I think, is something that is really important, not just to Southern California, but it really is important to all of California, because it's really addressing the environmental issues that exist in the Sacramento area. I did go to Humboldt, so I do care about the environmental impact, the salmon industry. So I think those are.
I think one of the positive things about the drought, because there are a lot of negative things, in terms of sacrifice and farmers having to fallow land and people who live in homes and they don't get any water out of the tap because they're in rural communities. The water table has dropped so low below their pumping capabilities. But I think there's been a huge educational effort that has been effective, and more people are aware of the Delta, the sensitivity of that, and of the environmental issues there. And as we've said before, the urban needs, the environmental needs, and the agricultural needs, are all those three have water needs, and our needs are intertwined for the future, and we've got to find balance, and we've got to find common understanding. So I guess with that, we are being asked to go to a break. Thank you so much for joining us. It was great to learn
appreciate it.
Well,
you're
thank
doing.
you so much. Thank you all.
You
Come
bet.
again.
It's a great time.
We'll be back in a second with Mike and Rob on the Water Zone, so please listen in and call in.
Hey, buddy, I heard the drought's moving in, muscling in on your turf. To make matters worse, the man keeps telling you to limit your spigot. That drought is bad news, no fooling. But me and my boys can help. The Water Boys, on the Water Zone, Thursday nights at 6. We'll help you protect your turf and save water. And hey, don't worry about it. Consider it a gift.
Yeah, Louie, you heard the boss. We gotta listen in at 6 p.m. on Thursday nights.
Okay, Vinny, you got it. The Water Zone, Thursday nights at 6 p.m. I'll tell our lawn it's now protected.
Are you looking for the right place to purchase your landscaping items? Well, come see us at Hydroscape. Hydroscape offers a large selection of irrigation products including Irritrol and Toro, such as their efficient precision nozzles. For 40 years, Hydroscape has been family owned and operated, serving Southern California. With 17 locations, our knowledgeable and experienced staff is equipped to help you with all your irrigation, landscape, and outdoor living projects. Whether you're installing irrigation systems, wanting to maintain a healthy landscape, or simply create a beautiful lit space for outdoor entertaining, Hydroscape is the place to go. Visit our website at hydroscape.com for more information and find helpful articles on our blog, or call our customer service center at 1-800-395-4477.
Were you involved in an auto accident? Do you know where to go for repairs? Are you tired of getting ripped off by high prices and inferior work? Then visit us at Inland Empire Auto Body and Paint, located in Riverside at 6411 Industrial Avenue, Suite A. We have an award-winning team of specialists with more than 40 years of auto body work experience. We were also voted #1 in the Inland Empire by MyFox LA. We work with all major insurance companies and use state-of-the-art equipment to get your car back on the road. We work on all makes and models of cars, including RVs. Our auto paint specialist will make sure the job is done right. At Inland Empire Auto Body and Paint, your satisfaction isn't just a goal, it's what drives us. We focus on your needs. Call us for a free estimate at 951-637-1365. That's 951-637-1365. Inland Empire Auto Body and Paint.
Hi, welcome back to the Water Zone with Mike and Rob on KCAA 1050 AM. For call-ins, please do. We have some very interesting people here. So for the local numbers, 909 area code, it's 888-5222. If you're outside that area code, dial 888-909-1050. So today we're very, very pleased and lucky to have two gentlemen. One is Dr. James Baird. He's from University of California, Riverside. He's a turf grass specialist. And Mr. Joel Adding, who's co-owner of AG Sod Farms here in Riverside. So I'd like to welcome both of you gentlemen. I appreciate that. And one of the things on an article that I had written somebody else also, scientists from many of the world's most prestigious halls in education have concurred that, and I'm quoting Dr. Baird here, that the strategic use of turf grass is the most sensible and economically approach to countering the greenhouse effect in urban areas. Do you remember saying that?
That might have been Dr. Beard. That sounds a little too esteemed for me.
Well, I know that the issue in our industry today is one where we kind of have two extremes. One extreme that's kind of being driven by the drought, by rebates, by the threat of $500 fines for runoff or overuse of water. And that side is, gosh, I got to get rid of my turf because it's the most water-thirsty plant material that I have, and it's either get rid of it or get fined, or get rid of it or get ostracized. So that's the one side. On the other side are people that said, hey, I really like my lawn. I have kids. I have pets. I enjoy my lawn. I'm managing the irrigation in such a way that I'm not getting into penalties. And yeah, maybe I'm accepting a little browner grass during the drought emergency because I want to do my part to help California get through its emergency. And or even people that say, hey, I can afford it. Not to pick on Beverly Hills, but they can afford it. They want their green grass. So between those two extremes, it seems that there's got to be information that can justify, that can enable people to feel good about keeping their turf. So we'd like to ask you some questions about what are some of the benefits of turf? Why would it be a good thing? Or maybe I reverse the question and say, hey, what do I lose when I take out 1,000 square feet of sod? So Dr. Beard, maybe you would start the discussion with that.
Well, I think one of the first benefits that we think about with turf, let's face it, it's aesthetics. That's very important to why we grow grass, and so I think that's something that everyone is noticing these days with the reduced water use, people turning off their lawns, people removing their lawns. That really does impact one's property value. So I think aesthetics are a key component. Second, I think there's certainly functional value in terms of the why we grow grass, and certainly athletics. For kids to play in the yard. There's a lot of benefits of that, and I think last but certainly not least is the environmental impact of turf grasses. And I think one of the major things that I think we need to think about as Californians in this drought, and with all this talk about and action about with turf removal, is the effect that has on the temperature. The Environmental Protection Agency coined the phrase urban heat island effect. And so the more we remove these green plant materials that cool the environment, that's going to cause a resultant increase in temperature in an already increasing urban environment. And last time I checked, I think 2/3 of the energy production in the state is tied or dependent upon water to produce it. And so I think that's something that people may not be factoring in to this equation.
Well, especially when they talk about replacing your grass with artificial turf, which generates a lot more heat than natural turf.
Yeah, I heard that if you have just black asphalt, that is actually going to stay cooler on a summer sunny day than artificial turf. And that I scratched my head. Joel, did you have any thoughts on why that is? How could green artificial turf be actually hotter than black asphalt?
Well, there's crumb rubber in a lot of the artificial turf, and it's interesting that we don't want that in our landfills, but we're okay putting it in our yards and having it run off into our gutters, and the heat generally comes from that. And then you have a lot of plastic. That's one of the main concerns that we have is, particularly in the Inland Empire, or
it's hot.
It doesn't make sense to have your kids. If you're just going to look at it as one thing, but if there's going to be anybody on it, it's a health issue, and so I think it'll be interesting how that plays out the next 10 years.
I don't know if you heard, I think I caught this on the news this morning, Rob, maybe you heard this, but the City of LA Unified School District had something like 6 or 7 of their artificial turf fields melt this year, because of the heat, and of course their position is that the stated specifications of being able to take up to 180 degrees Fahrenheit and not melt, that was not met. But you think about it, if you have to put something on the ground that can withstand 180 degrees, you're certainly not going to want to play any sports on that. And so you have to have water to cool that off. And many of the sports fields that use artificial turf do have systems that can be used for cooling and washing. So now they're starting to rethink, whether that's the right way to go. But
well, there's so many environmental benefits. Switch mics here.
Okay.
Sorry. Just made some notes the other day. I mean, there's so many benefits to turf. One we just talked about. It cools the air, produces oxygen, filters air and reduces pollution, captures and suppresses dust, recharges and filters groundwater supplies, and go on, controls soil erosion, sequesters and retains carbon. All of that's important, and you can't keep taking grass away or turf away and thinking it's going to be better situation. People put in cement. Well, that generates a lot more heat, and you need places to play. Now, Mike and I always joke about it, but it's true. If you have an area where the only person that walks on it is the guy who mows it, you don't need it. If it's places in the middle of a median in the street, you don't need it. But homes, you start looking at curb appeal and things and all of that, it makes a big difference. Joel, in the last 2 years or 3 years, what has happened to the sod farm business? Is it, not just you, but I mean in general, is it hit the industry that nobody's buying it, or is there other types of grasses and things from either both of you that people can use to keep their grass?
Well, obviously we're suffering in the middle of it, but we understand that change has to occur, that there's a drought. You can't stick your head in the sand. So what we've been doing over the last few years is putting in more warm season grasses, which most people just view turf as one thing, but there's cool season and warm season. And warm season grasses like the heat. They thrive in the summer. They thrive on less water. They save 25% water or more. If you shut the water off on them, they'll survive, whereas with a cool season grass, it may not survive. 2-day-a-week watering, it's just fine. So we've been trying to stress a positive message of you can have a lawn and save water with warm season grasses.
Yeah, and if you have the proper irrigation equipment to go with that, like the smart controllers that are out there, the real high technology nozzles and things like that, it will help you reduce your water and keep it nice. And yes, getting it a little brown is not going to hurt it. You'll keep it alive. It'll work, and people enjoy that. Especially, we had some people on for the real estate. Remember Mike a couple of weeks back? And it's tough when you go to properties and people are selling homes for, let's say, $400,000 and up, or $300,000, or whatever price. You want to buy something that looks nice. You don't want to invite people to come over and looks like Sanford and Son, all torn out.
Hey, my cousin was next to Sanford and Son. But no, the idea in the past, before the drought, of course, if you would go drive into a neighborhood and be looking at houses, and there was a brown lawn, that was kind of a negative. Now, today, during the drought, that's kind of like
brown's the new green.
Yeah. So, but I wanted to go back, and you mentioned warm season turf grass, because I think this is an area that kind of the baby gets thrown out with the bathwater. It's like, boom, all turf is high water consumption, and we see it so often when irrigation systems are under-maintained or perhaps deferred maintenance occurs. You get high pressure misting, you get overspray, and so we see that waste. You don't see the waste when the toilet, is running all the time because nobody's, investigating that. But in public, water waste from irrigation is very, very visible. But going back to this warm season grass, is it just one variety, or are there choices with that? Either one of you gentlemen want to answer that?
Mike, that's a good point. I think it's important to point out, or have the listeners understand, that turf does not waste water. People waste water. Faulty irrigation systems waste water. And so when we talk about the things that we could do, as Joel mentioned, that one very simple part of the puzzle, I guess, would be to look at changing the type of grass you have. And again, like you mentioned, the warm season grasses use at least 20% less water, if not more than that. Why are we not utilizing those grasses, especially in the Inland Empire, well, the primary reason is because they go brown or turn dormant in the wintertime, and people want green grass. It's important to the aesthetics and the curb appeal, as you mentioned. And so I think that's one of the factors that certainly needs to be overcome. But that's a really good example or a really good approach to save water. I mean, imagine just changing, from tall fescue, which is a cool season grass, king of the lawn grasses in the state, but just changing to a warm season grass is a 20% or more water savings, and that's significant.
Hey, for those people that like their brown lawns, now we can give them a brown lawn in the winter, right? No watering, and a green lawn in the summer. So we can keep best of both worlds. Now, you also mentioned, I think, in a past discussion, watering habits or ways that you can still save water with cool season turf grass. And what do you think are the keys? What would you share as advice for someone who today has, either Heinz 57 mixed variety for the grass, or maybe a good, cool season turf grass that looks really good? But what advice would you give owners of those properties to save water, to do what Joel mentioned, is save water, but also save your lawn?
Well, let's go back to a few years. Hopefully it was quite a bit in the past now, but show of hands out there in the audience, how many of you were irrigating your lawn 7 days a week, 365 days a year? And that, I think there's quite a few of you out there, because I've seen quite a few of those lawns, and I think everyone here would attest to that, seeing the same thing. And so especially in a lawn situation, I know of no turf species, cool season, warm season, that requires that much water on a daily basis and an annual basis.
And even in the Inland Empire, where it gets pretty hot.
That's correct. And then take that a step further. I've lived here for now, this is my 8th year, and I started out with tall fescue. I converted to a warm season grass like Bermuda grass, but every one of those went during the winter months, every one of those years, I turned off the irrigation with the first significant rainfall, which usually happens in October or November. And then I didn't turn it on again until maybe March, April, May, depending upon how much rainfall we had or how long the rainy season was. And so that's a significant amount of water savings right there. And that's cool season or warm season. So certainly, as you mentioned, if you have brown or dormant turf in the wintertime, you certainly doesn't require supplemental irrigation. But the same was true. It is true with a cool season grass.
Now, Joe, sharing one microphone's a little difficult. Hey, Joe, on the customers that you have, and I know, just so the listeners know, AG Sod Farm is one of the largest sod farm businesses west of the Mississippi. On your customers, when they call up and order, does your team explain the differences? I mean, I know you sold to Home Depot and some other contractors and other places. Do you guys just take the order, or do you try to help them? Do they ever ask you what's the right choice to make?
Yeah, customers definitely want to know, and we'll help them, of course. And I think the challenge, like Jim has said, is people want that year-round green, and we need to get used to the idea that we're going to have some brown somehow, and whether it's underwatering your lawn, I think warm season grasses are a good alternative. And as far as the winter time, there's zero water use with warm season grasses. But I think people are just used to the type of grass. But really, a more native would be a warm season grass.
Does that affect your production and what products that you're going to offer in the future? I mean, are you changing the fields now to do something different, or?
Yeah, we've been pulling out plowing, unfortunately. It hasn't happened very often in the history of our company in 45 years, but we plowed some acres under of cool season grass, and we planted more warm season grass in response to that.
Well, the drought is definitely affecting the irrigation industry too, so you're not alone in terms of having to look at model changes and that kind of thing. Dr. Baird, your point about not having to water 7 days a week, being able to turn off your controller, your irrigation system during the winter months. That makes me think about an article I recently read that said when turf is removed and replaced by drought-tolerant plants with a drip system, for example, that 2/3 of the savings that the customer sees, not in the first year, because that first year requires establishment watering of the new drought-tolerant plant material if you're going to save it through that first summer, and therefore there's not really a lot of water savings when you make that transition. So we're not saving all this water we're saving is probably not coming from that turf removal yet, but 2/3 of that savings actually came from eliminating all of the inefficiencies or deferred maintenance of the existing sprinkler system and replacing it with a brand new drip system with a new valve, pressure regulator, a filter. When people understand that you could get a third savings just from putting it, upgrading your sprinkler system, how important is it to maintain a sprinkler system in terms of being able to save water over the course of the year?
Well, a couple of points. I wanted to mention what you first said about that what happens when you convert. I mean, we do a lot of research trying to determine the most water efficient turf grasses, and even my colleagues with other landscape plants. And a really important point to drive home is that no matter what you choose or how drought tolerant, drought resistant that's plant is, establishment is not the time to enact your water conservation measures, because let's face it, plants, whether they use a lot of water or use very little water, they need water to establish, and so that's a very important point. In terms of the types of irrigation systems, let's not forget, subsurface drip irrigation has been developed for turf, and it's a little bit more complicated because you need to basically remove what's there and install that system. But there's been quite a bit of research done in our discipline, and it's shown that that turf is especially water use efficient with that type of irrigation delivery.
How do you establish that? Because if you have the drip underneath at the beginning, do you need to have overhead spray at least at the beginning for the establishment portion?
Actually not, Rob. There's been some research done, and we've done a little bit at our farm, thanks to the Toro company, to demonstrate that you can establish turf with subsurface drip irrigation. The big thing is, whereas I think the previous speaker talked about how easy it was. Well, in a landscape situation where you're putting it over the top and maybe it's hidden from view underneath a bush, that's one thing. But when you're talking about putting it under turf, it's a little bit more of a chore. But it's certainly doable, and that is, I think, an ultimate situation of water conservation. But on the other side, most people have overhead sprinklers, and the most common thing that I see is, first of all, there is no such thing with an overhead sprinkler system of 100% irrigation distribution uniformity. In other words, it's just not possible. We try to achieve 80%. That's very good, and I think achievable on large areas like golf courses. But when you have irregularly shaped home lawns, you're looking 50 to 70% at best. Mm-hmm. And so the first thing that people are going to notice in their lawn is these brown spots. And so you got to think to yourself, okay, if that spot's brown and the rest of my turf looks good, why am I going to turn up my irrigation system to compensate for that brown area? Because in doing so, I'm putting more water than the rest of the lawn needs. And so there must be something wrong there. Perhaps it just is a situation where you could try to, maybe it's a clogged nozzle, or maybe you could try to the spacing issue, exactly. But I think the worst thing to do, and what unfortunately what most people have done or continue to do, is that they see those areas and automatically turn up the irrigation system or increase the number of days that lawn is irrigated.
Most people don't know how to program controllers to begin with. They just turn as they think they need to do.
Yeah, that I think that's a major challenge.
Yeah, Brent Meekum, who worked at the Western Colorado Water Conservancy District before he became director of industry relations for the Irrigation Association, actually did a research paper, and he was addressing the issue of, where should the industry focus its resources? Improve uniformity of nozzles, spray nozzles. And he said, there would be more water saved by focusing on proper scheduling and irrigating at the recommended operating pressure that the manufacturer suggests than increasing uniformity by 5% of any nozzle, because the scheduling and the pressure overwhelm any advantage. So I go back to reiterate that deferred maintenance, overpressurized systems, misting, overspray, all those things that can be corrected today with technology. Yes, it does require an investment, but not as big an investment, in my opinion, as doing a complete turf removal and then a decent replanting. And the other thing I wanted to share was you mentioned programming a controller. Someone shared with me, he says, you got to think of that controller as an ATM machine. And when you turn up the time, money's being taken by somebody else, the water agency. And if you can turn down that runtime, that's money that you are depositing to through the ATM. So if folks think of that dial, and in Santa Barbara, where the top tier for a unit of water is now surpassed $18 per unit, that's a pretty hefty return.
Joe,
go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, one thing I wanted to piggyback on what Jim was saying. If you have brown spots, a real simple way is irrigate to leave some brown spots, and then go out there with your hose or a watering can and enjoy the evening, and once or twice a week water those spots. It's a real low-tech, nature-friendly type of way to take care of your lawn, and that's if you're irrigating your whole lawn to be totally green, you're wasting water.
You want point of use right there at the brown spot. What do you see, Joel, as some of the benefits of turf grass that the press never talks about?
Well, a couple interesting things. One you alluded to, Rob, was neighborhoods with grass are generally preferred, or properties with a lawn or a nice green space are generally preferred to homes or neighborhoods without. So property values are going to be higher in a neighborhood that has a lawn. The other thing is, I read an article recently about that green spaces are good for kids' brains, and that they did a study and mapped the greenery, and in neighborhoods that had more greenery, the kids did better in school. So just that was in the Washington Post recently.
I had run across several years ago where there was a study of green space at hospitals, psychiatric hospitals, and they correlated the peacefulness and the tranquility in the green spaces to improved health for the patients. So beyond the aesthetics, there's also that that psychic benefit. It's hard to quantify. It's hard to say, hey, that's worth, this much. But I think the key thing is to remember some of the things that have been mentioned this evening, that turf is just not this evil thing that just, the only thing it does is suck water. It does other things, and we have the ability with professional contractors to be more efficient in keeping that turf, and by managing how much brown we're willing to tolerate. And during a drought, we should be willing to tolerate more brown, but not throw the baby out with the bathwater. I think we can save our lawn for the future. California is not going to be in continuous drought. I'm knocking on wood, and if that's the case, I would prefer to live through a season or 2 years or 3 years with I've got stress on my grass, but have it when the normal weather gets back. But I don't know. I just think the press and the rebates and the penalties have just so emphasized turf removal. I thought it would be worthwhile to say, hey, there's another side of the story.
I know, we appreciate you guys coming and taking the time to speak with us. A lot of people just freak out that I got to take my grass out. I got to have this. I got to have dirt. They don't have to go that route. As Mike said, if they just look at their system to begin with, if they take a look at the warm grasses, other things they can do to save it and have a really nice area for their kids, their grandkids, or whatever. It's important that we have turf. And the draconian methods aren't the way that's going to solve the problem. I know the state always rushes to that.
Well, and on the other hand, I have to say, the state of California was faced with a very dire situation, right? And I think they tried to make sure they took into consideration ag interests, industrial interests, and I think the trade-off for them was, hey, some people might be hurt if we don't have as much turf, but there's some other businesses and other applications that are going to be very important. Although I heard that the building industry said, hey, if you give us all of the water in ag, we'll add 1 million jobs or something, because they were trying to compare how much water ag uses and what percentage of the GDP of California it contributes versus building. But next week, by the way, you want to tune in, because we're going to have 2 guests that are going to be ag specific, and so we're going to hear that side of the story. But are there any final words of advice relative to the value of turf removal that you'd like to share with us? I guess, Dr. Baird, if you have any added comments.
Well, a couple that have been mentioned recently. I think Rob shed light on several of the benefits, but I think another thing we hear about off and on, but it's not going away, is climate change. And turf grasses, because they're contiguous, connecting ground covers that we typically don't plow up until recently, at least. They're there for a long time, and they do a extraordinary job of sequestering carbon from the atmosphere, and that's through the process of photosynthesis. So they're not the only green plants that do this, but they do it very effectively due to the fact that we don't usually disrupt that system, and that carbon stays there for a long time. And I think that's certainly something that we should be aware of, and especially with what you hear on the news, in the political debate these days about climate change and whatnot. Turf does play a positive role in that.
If they want to get a hold of you, is there a way that the public can get in touch with you and ask you some questions?
Sure. We have a website. It's turfgrass.ucr.edu, and that's one way to reach us. And then through our departmental website, or my department is the Department of Botany and Plant Sciences.
Great. Joel, anything from you, and also tell the audience where they can get. I'm telling you, I've seen their product. It's great turf, and great people who own the company, the co-owner and the other co-owner. I do know them very well, but I always joke about the instant grassification. They had that on a T-shirt once, and I never forgot that. It was pretty good. So any closing words from you?
Well, we appreciate the opportunity to talk on this subject and what role Toro plays in this, and it's something we all have to work on. It's obviously not an easy problem, and I agree with what Mike said. There's some difficult choices to be made, and I think if we can keep a good balance, I just feel like there's not a lot of balance in the discussion, and so opportunities like this, and as time passes, I think people will realize that there is a balance we can achieve, and we don't have to just live with rocks and cactus, and that we can have neighborhoods that are livable.
Well, the thing about rocks is that tends to, I've been told, compact the soil, and then when you do have rains, you're not going to get the infiltration of the water. You have more runoff, so that's going to be a problem. And also, if Bermuda comes back or kikuyu grass comes back in that mulch, and they start spraying more chemicals, then that's more chemical use. So those are some of the things to consider.
Anyway, again, we both, Mike and I, thank you very much for joining the Water Zone, and I hope the listeners really enjoyed it. I know we did. We got a lot out of it, and hopefully you'll let us call you on the phone now and then and pick your brains. So anyway, thanks for the listening, audience. And if you have any questions, speak to Mike and Rob. And don't forget, next week is a special ag show. And we have some pretty interesting people coming in.
Yeah, we have Wade Crowfoot, who is a consultant directly to Governor Brown's office.
Senior advisor.
And so stay tuned.
All right.
You're on board KCAA's Inland Talk Express. KCAA, Loma Linda, 1050 AM, the station that leaves no listener behind.
Meet Scott Walker, corporate whore. The Wisconsin governor says he should be America's president because he's a proven budget whacker who